Let's talk about another fun poisonous plant. I haven't talked about one of these in a while, so let's talk about the castor bean. So the castor bean plant is known as one of the most poisonous common plants. So out of all the plants that you will commonly see places, this is the most poisonous one, and it is very poisonous. In addition to being a poisonous plant, it's also a very allergenic plant, so people very commonly have castor bean allergies, and this is used to make castor oil, so lots of people are allergic to castor oil. So castor oil itself is used in a lot of contexts. It's used to help with constipation, it's used as a moisturizer, so for help your skin. It's also used to induce labor if you're having trouble giving birth. So while not usually toxic, if you're allergic to this plant, touching it can cause rashes and skin irritation. Even touching the leaves, the sap, or the flowers can cause skin irritation, and inhaling the pollen can cause lung irritation, but that's really only if you're allergic to the castor plant. But in all cases, even if you're not allergic, it is the beans that are highly, highly toxic. So ricin is the toxin that is produced inside the beans of this plant. This is a protein that binds carbohydrates and acts to inhibit protein synthesis, so it basically stops your proteins from being made. And you need your proteins, so you really, really don't want your proteins to not be made because they're kind of important. So it does the carbohydrate binding, and it itself is a protein that just fucks with your other proteins. Not great. So ricin is toxic if inhaled, ingested, or injected. So if you breathe it in, if you eat it, or if it's It is known to be the most potent when it is injected directly, but that's just ricin itself. The castor bean plant is only really a problem if the beans are just ingested, so if you eat it, you don't really have to worry about being injected with castor bean if just by the plant itself. The problem arises as if you're injected with castor oil or just straight ricin. But in regards to the plant, you only really have to worry about the beans unless you're allergic to the plant, in which case you don't really want to be touching any of it. But yeah, you really, really do not want to be eating these beans. Depending on the individual and depending on the beans themselves, the lethal amount tends to be anywhere between 4 and 8 beans. So you wouldn't really be eating these on purpose. If you accidentally eat a couple beans, you're probably going to be fine unless you're unhealthy or you're a child or you're an elderly individual. But about 8 beans is generally the lethal dose for a healthy adult. So since the ricin poison messes with your protein synthesis, symptoms aren't the quickest. It usually takes between a couple hours and a couple days to notice any symptoms of ricin poisoning. Usually those start out with gastrointestinal issues, so stomach ache, cramping, nausea, all that. But then it can spread throughout the body, including the kidneys, liver, and central nervous system. So like I said, the gastrointestinal issues start first, and those are caused by hemorrhaging of the mucous membrane, which isn't great. It causes pain and inflammation, and that inflammation leads to the mucous membranes of your intestinal system hemorrhaging, which means they just burst and you get blood going places you do not want blood to be going, which leads to bloody vomit and bloody stool, which is not great. This also leads to massive fluid loss due to the vomiting and diarrhea, which later causes your organs to start to shut down, and then eventually you go into shock, and then a whole lot of bad things happen, and you probably die unless you get treated. The symptoms for inhalation and injection are different, but I'm only going to talk about the ones from ingestion because in context of the plant, that is the one that is most likely to happen. Say hi.
Hi.
She wanted to show off her Christmas presents. Oh, gorgeous. Pose.
There's cats on it.
Beautiful.
There's one drinking.
Oh my god.
Oh god. The pressure of 10
5, 4, 3, 2.
Oh my God,
Did you find it?
Oh, there's his butt.
Oh, beautiful. Slay.
Peace out.
So there is currently an antidote for it. I'm not sure how effective it is, but there is an antidote for ricin poisoning. In addition, most can be treated with just like supplemental and supportive treatments, so like replenishing fluids to help with blood loss and all that, and just kind of help you get through the symptoms. So it's unlikely to be fatal, but it is a overall very unpleasant experience, so don't go around eating plants. And also the oil is toxic in a high enough dose, so don't go around just taking castor oil shots or anything.